Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another episode of In the Prog Seat. It is time, seeing as the end of June, we're getting ready for July. This is our mid-year report, right? So we've had lots of cool releases that have come out this year. Prog rock, prog metal, fusion, right? And so we decided, generally we wait till the end of the year to kind of take stock of the whole year. But, you know, why not start a new trend where at the mid-year point we say, all right, this is what's come out so far. These are kind of our favorites so far, and we see kind of where they wind up at the end of the year. So that's what we're doing tonight. We're going to talk about our 5 favorites of the year so far, mid-year, and then we'll do the bigger show later in the year. So we've got on tap with us tonight. We've got Stephen Reed all the way from Scotland. We got the Professor of Prague, Mr. Ken Golden. We got George Lamy and Eric Porter. Greetings, fellas.
Well,
We're gonna start at the top today. We'll go with Eric kicking us off. We'll go Eric, Ken, George, Stephen, and myself. And we'll start, I guess, with our number 5. I don't know about you guys, but I'm not really sure what order these are in. I'm just
I don't have it. I don't have a real order.
So Eric, start us off with your first selection.
all right, I'll go with number 5. I'm going to go with the Aristocrats. I just picked this up a couple weeks ago with the orchestra. I did do a review on the site, and this was one I think, Pete, you and I both talked about this. I wasn't even sure I was going to pick this up. Didn't seem like a good combination to me, but I'm like, well, let's give it a go. And I think the blending of the orchestra and the Aristocrats is fantastic. I'm trying to think, Wojciech Lemansky is the guy who did the arrangements. And I think the arrangements are unbelievable here because the orchestra is really powerful when they need to be. They don't overwhelm the band at all. But at the same time, that trio still stands out. So I just think it's a perfect complement. I think it's something that normally most of the time is not done well. And this was done extremely well. So that is my number 5 for 2022 so far.
Yeah. What I think is really cool about that is, like, if you take the Aristocrats off of that CD and you just leave the orchestra, it's still really interesting and it's still really a fun listen. And I think it works really, really well together. That just missed the cut for me today because I've only had it like a week. So I was like, but I'm really enjoying it. I think it's really, cool. Really good.
I only got to sample a little bit of it. Do they mesh with the orchestra? Meaning where it's almost like one ensemble. It's not like this one's
it's not spotty like Here Comes the Orchestra. It's blended throughout.
That's cool.
It's really done well, Ken.
Yeah.
Just going back to what I always talked about, like how much I love like Banco de Terra, where they were able to do that. You know, it's so hard to do, you know, and ELP could never figure it out.
They tried. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, good choice. All right, Ken.
All right. I'm going to go, I don't have any order, and I'm going to go with the one that I don't have a prop for, to get it out of the way. The reason I don't have a prop for it because I sold out of the damn things. It's a CD by an Australian guitarist, multi-instrumentalist by the name of Ben Craven. It's called Monsters from the Id. And this is a guy that should be much better known than he is. And maybe if he was signed to a label or he put together like a band, we would know more about him. It's 2 sidelong tracks, and the music is just straight symphonic prog. He's a very good guitar player, wears his influences on his sleeve as far as guitar. You know, you remind of Steve Hackett's solo albums, but kind of blown up on a larger scale. Other parts kind of remind you of Mike Oldfield, particularly on the second long piece, where there's some acoustic parts that really sound like Oldfield. And then there's some solos which are like straight out of the David Gilmour playbook. It almost sounds like outtakes from The Wall. I have to assume he's playing all the instruments because I don't see any other musicians mentioned. He sings. His vocals are fine. They're, and they kind of fit. Long instrumental passages. It has this sort of cinematic feel to it. And it almost works as like, you can almost see it working as like a movie soundtrack or something. Very, very good. And yeah, that's what I'm gonna open with. Ben Craven, Monsters from the Id. And if anybody cares at some point, I'll contact Ben and I'll restock it. But man, they shot out of here right away.
He's Roger Dean has done a bunch of
Roger did a cover for him, and then on the new one, he used Roger's logo, and Roger's daughter Freya did the artwork for the new one. It's a nice package. It comes with a DVD with a 5.1 mix of the album. Very high quality, and he's just a guy that, I think because he's stuck in Australia, he doesn't get any attention. You know, I don't know who does his press, if anybody does his press. It's very, very good stuff. Like I said, if he was on a label like Inside Out or something like that, or he would go to Europe with a band, I think this guy would blow up.
Yeah. Originally, I thought you were talking about it, and George, I saw a look on your face. Wasn't there that? What was the name of that keyboard player who had that really good album out last year? He's got a very similar name.
Yeah, Benjamin Croft, maybe.
Yeah, very, very similar name. So when you started talking about, it, I'm like, it's like, wait a second, there's that keyboard guy. They have the same name. I was like, okay, yeah.
There was a guy years ago, his last name I think was Rivers, I forget, a guitar player from Australia. He made some amazing stuff.
Oh yeah, Endel. I think.
Yeah, and Endel Rivers was his
Yeah.
name. And he made a great album. It was like a fusion album, if I remember, right, George?
Yeah, he had Alan Zavad on it actually.
Yeah, it was really, really good. And I don't know whatever happened to that guy. Yeah, we got to do a whatever happened to episode.
Yeah, right. There's a lot of those.
Yeah, that was like, yeah, that was a guy that, yeah, Endo Rivers, that was his name. And he just, yeah, disappeared, I think.
I think that the Ben Craven maybe rings a bell with you, Peter, because you've put that album in the latest pack of CDs that I've got to review for the site.
Ah, I know I've seen it. Yeah, I've seen a couple of his. Okay.
Yeah. So I was looking through that pack today. It's about 20, 30 CDs, and genuinely thought, no idea who that is. I'm just kept going. So it is going to move to the top of the pile now.
You're gonna love it. It's really good. It's really good. Very talented guy.
Surprise, Stephen. There you go. That's my gift.
There you go.
this week, right?
Look at
All
that.
right, George, what do you got for your first pick today?
Porter. My number 5 is Aristocrats. A lot of people assume I love this band, but I really have been less than impressed over their span. I think the names bring more expectation than what I've gotten out of the records for the most part. And like Eric said, I was not going to even check into this because this is all previously released material. There's no new songs on here, just so everybody knows. In fact, no new performances by the Aristocrats. It's the original recordings, and then the chamber orchestra just adds on. But Eric said it was good, and then I caught one video, and I was blown away. I thought, this is not a natural combo, but it's really good. The guy that wrote the arrangements did a great job. And I think it helps that it's a chamber orchestra and not an actual orchestra, so there's no woodwinds. It's just all strings. And if someone can catch a picture online, it's almost all good-looking Polish broads. Like, who knew all these string players were hot Polish women? But if you see it, you'll be like, what? But yeah, to me, it bumps up the quality of all the songs, at least a half star to a star. I kind of always thought their music was a little empty as a trio. I don't think Govan and Beller cover the space as well as a lot of guys in trios do. And this kind of acts like a keyboard player, like a good, talented keyboard player. Fleshes out all the songs. So my new favorite Aristocrats, that'd be my number 5.
Cool.
But is
Maybe
that
they
really,
should tour with them or just put more people in the seats.
Yeah,
The
probably
girls out
pay
there with
everybody,
it.
but
so George, is that really true? So they didn't re-record their parts?
they did not.
So what were they just handed over like the multi-tracks and this
Yeah.
guy made an arrangements around it?
Yep,
That's weird.
both stories in the liners. Yeah.
I didn't
So
crack
these
one open.
songs
That's
off
interesting.
other albums.
What's that?
Are these songs off other albums?
Yes.
This is one before, right? Okay.
Yeah, they're taken from all the albums except I don't think there's anything from the first album. So it's all the other.
Okay. I hadn't realized that. I thought it was all new.
That's what
You
I
guys
was
ever see them live?
No.
I saw them one time, and they don't do it for me. They're nice guys. I like Marco. He's a real nice guy. The room was packed, and everybody was going ape shit for him. To me, it leaves me, they don't move me. Like for me, my guys, my Morgable guys, to me, I watch those guys do it. They do it better. It's a lot more fun. They make me laugh. It's got the heaviness, it's got the technicality, but I make more of a connection with these guys than I did with the Aristocrats. It's good. I mean, it's good. And like I said, everybody was going ape shit, but
Yeah, they played at Daryl's house, which is fairly close to me. Like, I guess right around either the beginning of the pandemic or right before it, something like that, or maybe it was when the pandemic lifted. And I don't remember when it was. It was last couple of years, and I was going to go, and then the last minute something else came up, and I wound up not going. And I heard it was amazing. I'm like, but I will do it next time.
does Daryl Hall come out and they do Sarah
I
Smile?
heard he doesn't show up that much there.
No.
So I don't know. Yeah. Who knows? All right, Stephen, what do you got?
So my first choice is this is Held by Trees. Solace is the name of the album. And anyone that likes that album might find there's a bit of a link there to Talk Talk. And that is not an accident, because there's, I think, 7 or 8 guys that were involved with Talk Talk latterly. And then Mark Hollis's solo work that also appear on this. It's a guy named David Joseph, who is more from the ambient music world, who has put together this album. He's written and produced the whole thing, but the cast list is absolutely ginormous. And the ethos behind it is that these songs or pieces, it's instrumental, are meant to be the framework for what they're then going to go out and play live. And they're going to allow all of the music to evolve and grow and change when they take it out there. Now, that in itself isn't necessarily the best selling point for an album, because you think, well, surely that's got to be the finished thing. I think this is really good. It's just got great atmosphere. It's quite melancholic, as you might think it would be, with the links to latter day Talk Talk and things like that as well. It's been described as kind of ambient prog, post-rock, whatever that really means, with kind of progressive jazz leanings. All of those things are in there. It's much smoother than that would maybe suggest. And it really is quite a kind of downbeat experience, which is very on vogue at the moment. There's an awful lot of that around, it has to be said. But I think this does it really well. I didn't know much about it before I was lucky enough to be sent it for review. And it's something I keep going back to in a specific mood. It's not something I could listen to every day. I would love to see it live if that ever really comes to fruition and comes round. So it's a bit different, and I really quite liked it. Held by Trees, Solace is the name of the album.
Cool.
I think all you have to say with that record is, if you like Talk Talk, Spirit of Eden, Laughing Stock, Color of Spring, you're gonna love it. Or if you like Bark Psychosis, Hex, you're gonna love it.
Yeah, that's exactly the ballpark it's in, Ken. You're absolutely right. Yeah, it's not pretending to be anything that it's not, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, the whole concept, I think, was to basically make a Talk Talk album.
Yeah, I mean, as I say, even the album art, if you look at Spirit of Eden, I mean, there's clear links. It's not hiding any of its kind of starting point.
Yeah,
but I'm happy enough with what it's come out with, because I like that kind of thing. So works for me.
Oh, and we'll make sure to put our picks down in the comments below, as always. So just in case people are, wondering and they'll forget what we're talking about, don't worry, it'll be down there tomorrow morning. All right. So Ken mentioned something before that kind of resonated with me when he was talking about Morgable, about how he has a lot of fun with their music. And, sometimes some people might think that instrumental music is like not really fun, right? Because you got to have vocals to have fun. Well, I don't really agree with that. I think you can have a lot of fun with an instrumental album. And this particular album, I've only had a very short time, and it is an absolute blast. And George and Eric and I talked to the guy from this band a couple weeks ago, and I've liked everything I've heard from them before. They've got a shitload of albums, and this is their latest studio album, Dirty Horse by Marbin. I can't stop listening to this. This is wild. And it's like, you try to describe Marbin to someone, and it's like, there's this kind of term we've been using for like 50 years called jazz rock. This is jazz rock. It's like, this isn't fusion, this isn't prog, this is jazz rock. It's like these guys take like old school jazz and kicked up rock, toss in some Israeli ethnic elements, and boom, there you have it. I mean, some of the songs swing, some of them rock, some of them are complex as all hell. There's fiery guitar, screaming sax. The rhythms are great. Every song on here is an absolute winner. All the songs are long, so there's plenty of room for them to go batshit crazy and solo. But there's catchy melodies hidden in these songs, which I think is really, really cool. And you can tell these guys are super smart, nerdy musicians. I mean, it comes across big time. It's so much fun. And I've just been playing it. And I'm not surprised because like I said, I've liked everything they've done from everything they've done before, but I don't know if any of their albums have quite clicked with me as much as this one has so far. So yeah, Dirty Horse from Marbin. Back to Eric.
And Pete, I think I know when we talked to Danny, we talked about a bunch of things with him in that interview, but you made a point about the fun part and the blending of kind of that old school jazz, and the closing track on this, Radio School.
Oh, so good.
That is the one that sticks with me. It's got that swing feel to it,
Yes.
almost like that old jive. And I don't know, same thing. I mean, I've had their stuff, but this is one we're always listening to stuff here, whether we're trying to write reviews, do our homework for the shows. And this one keeps, I've played this since I've had it, and I'm still playing it regardless of what else I'm listening to. So, and I just saw a post from them today. I think their tour starts tomorrow. So unfortunately, they're not coming east, it looks like, on this swing, but yeah, absolutely fabulous. And I'm glad you like it. I know you didn't have much of a chance to listen to it before we talked to them, but unbelievable, great record.
Really good. It's really good. And like I said, I've liked everything I've heard from them. They're one of those bands that you can't keep up with their releases because you think you have their new one, and like 4 months later you're like still riding on that one. They put 2 other things out, so it's like it's really hard. It's, you know, whether it's EPs, studio albums, live albums, it's like they're so busy. But this is just really good. I just think the compositions are great. There's humor in there. I love when they go into these little kind of like Israeli kind of Yiddish little jigs, I think, which is just great because that's their personality, and it comes across so strong, and it's just so much fun. I would love to see these guys live. Love to see
I
them.
got to see them once with about 30 people in a tiny bar at Albany. There was nobody there. They played their asses off. They were
Yeah,
unbelievable.
I can imagine.
Rick Eddy from A Triggering Myth lives down in Florida, and he called me. He goes, I went to see this band called Marbin. They were unbelievable. He was going on and on. And I'm like, oh, you don't know Marbin? You know, I mean, he's so in Florida, they're starving for music. So anything that was being called, fusion, jazz rock, prog rock, he went, and he called me. I never heard of these guys. They were unbelievable.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how the tour goes for them, because the sax player is unable to make this part of the tour. And I'm trying to envision some of these songs as a trio. It's going to be interesting. Danny's going to have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, because he's all over it. And the sax, I mean, that's equal in their music, the sax and the guitar. So
yeah,
be interesting.
So
Anthony asked me about them if I thought he'd like them. I said, I think style wise you would, but the sax player is out front and you're not a sax.
He doesn't like sax. Yeah. So what do you got? How do you guys differentiate jazz rock and fusion? I know it when I hear it.
I don't know. Jazz rock to me is like Chicago, Blood, Sweat and Tears, Zappa, stuff like that. Stuff with vocals, stuff with rock, more rock formations. To me, it's fusion, but it's all blurred.
Because I think with Marbin, you get a lot of, he'll do that gypsy jazz stuff that comes through. But
yeah, this like a 50s and early 60s jazz,
Right.
which I don't get with like Mahavishnu or Return to Forever or any of that stuff.
Exactly.
I don't
They
know.
do kind of dive into that older.
Yeah.
To me, like the first half of the 70s is jazz rock. Second half of the 70s and later was fusion. I think the keyboards and the use of synthesizers is a strong component of that. How do you compare Wolfgang Donner's etc. with like Return to Forever, Romantic Warrior? They're both in that sort of vague realm, but they're from like 2 different worlds.
Yeah.
One is very heavy on organ, electric piano, some synthesizer. And, I think there's more use of synthesizer in, Return to Forever and, Jan Hammer with Mahavishnu Orchestra at some point, certainly you listen to like Jeff Beck, right? What is that? Is that, is Wired and Blow by Blow, is that jazz rock or is that fusion? We have a tendency to use these terms interchangeably, but I think that there's a bit of a stylistic difference between the two. It's kind of subtle,
It is. Yeah.
and, yeah. And then I always talk electric jazz, stuff from the late 60s, early 70s, where guys are playing, a form of jazz rock, but there's a little less rock, but there's a lot of electricity going on, electric bass, electric keyboards, but it's more of a jazz album. Listen to those Freddie Hubbard albums.
Oh, good example.
Those to me, those are electric jazz albums, Red Clay and, anyway.
Fantastic records. Yeah. Oh yeah. All right. Where were we? Ken? So you're trying to forget.
All right. Again, in no order. I'm just pulling from my stack. So next one I have, let's see if I get it right. The Tangent. Songs from the Hard Shoulder. And for me, Tangent, I've liked every album from the Tangent. There's a consistency to Andy Tillison's writing. I pretty much know what I'm going to expect with every album. There's this sort of contemporary feel, but there's enough old school prog in there, particularly I think from his keyboard sounds, that it just sort of appeals to old farts like me. I like, there always seems to be undercurrents of Canterbury in there. I mean, he doesn't hit you over the head. It's not like you're listening to a Caravan album, but in a way, it's sort of like you're listening to a Caravan album. His lyrics are okay. I'm not like a lyric guy where I sit and study them, but they tend to tell a story. And he's got great players. He's got Jonas Rheingold playing bass. He's got Luke Mashin on guitar. Theo Travis playing sax and flute. Steve Roberts on drums. I don't know who Steve Roberts is. Andy plays all the keyboards, and he always throws in some really nice, tasty organ work. The guy that really impressed me on the album was Luke Mashin, the guitar player. I didn't like his band. He had a band, Mashin, I guess it was called. I really didn't think it was particularly good, but
I didn't mind that.
It's like he found his place. He found his role. The album has 3 epic tracks. They're all like around 18, 20 minutes. One of them, the GPS Vultures, is all instrumental. Mashin plays some really, really beautiful guitar on that particular track, electric and acoustic. And if you're smart and you get the import version of the CD, like when we have it in stock, we keep selling out of it, or if you buy the vinyl version, you get a 16-minute bonus track, which starts out with a cover of UK's In the Dead of Night, and that morphs into, they expanded and morphs into original Tangent music, and it's very cohesive and it's kind of cool. And I think it's a good album. And I'm looking forward to digging into it a little bit more. That's what I
I
got.
just realized I think your warehouse guy shipped me the wrong one today.
Really?
Yeah, that's a first. That happens.
Well,
Yeah, I was just looking at it. I put it in my stack. I opened up today and I was like, hey,
shit.
it's not,
All
this is
right.
not the new one.
that's
But
great.
I don't have this
Good.
one either. So
Good. I'll make fun of him tomorrow.
That's still good, Peter.
Yeah, I know. I didn't have this one. I do still want the new one, but yeah, all right.
I'll get more. I'll be doing a restock. Sorry about that.
That's all right. Yeah, let me know when you get them in and I'll get them.
Yeah. I'm going to jump in there because that's my next choice as well. So I'll jump in out of sequence just to really echo what Ken has said. I think the Tangent are one of the most consistent of the many current UK prog acts that are around. I really think you can't go wrong with very much they've done at all. And like Ken said, I'm not a massive lyric guy, but what I really like about Andy Tillison's lyrics are it's like he's just sitting next to you.
Yeah.
you know, these are not, you know, massively woven little stories that he's telling with, you know, lots of hidden meanings and various things. It's like a guy sitting down next to you in the bar and going, "You'll never guess what happened to me yesterday."
Yeah.
It just goes from there, and he tells it all, a lot of this in first person. And I mean, they've got a COVID song on it. I mean, everyone's got a COVID song, but he's talking about his band, and he actually names some of the guys in the band as he's going through the lyrics, because this is what was happening to them at that point. What would they do? Would they make an album? How would they fill their time? It shouldn't work, but it always does. It's very personal and personable music, but then you add in, and same again, Ken is absolutely spot on. The guitar work on this album, I think, is off the charts. Luke Mashin is absolutely outstanding on it. And much though they are a reasonably laid back album, he is blazing at certain points across this one. And I would suggest that it's maybe the fieriest guitar work that I've heard on a Tangent album for quite some time, within some really laid back kind of Canterbury style sort of music. So yeah, Songs from the Hard Shoulder was my next choice anyway. So sorry for jumping in, but yeah, it's an excellent album. I love the band, but yeah, it's really strong.
Yeah, they have they ever released a dud? I mean, they've been pretty
No.
consistent. Yeah,
I don't
They're all
think so.
good.
pretty
They're all-
quietly. Yeah, just good quality. Yeah. Cool. All right, George, circle back to you.
The next one is Lalu, Paint the Sky. Third album. Band leader's a French keyboard player. The band itself, a very strong quartet. Juke Walters from Arabesque and Elysian. Guy Jelly Cardarelli on drums. I'm not sure where he's from, but he's really good. And Damian Wilson singing from Threshold and Headspace. He kind of takes over this. They had a different singer on the last one, Martin Lamar from Tomorrow's Eve. Wilson's got a totally different voice, more John Anderson-ish. To me, way more interesting melodically. The music is on the border of prog rock and prog metal, I would say. They have metal edge, but they're never heavy, really. And tons of guest stars too. If you're into guest stars, I mean, it's a who's who. Jens Johansson, Alex Argento, Jordan Rudess doing keyboard solos, Tony Franklin on bass on a track, Simon Phillips plays on the instrumental that ends the album, Marcos Fogli, I mean, all over the place, big names. It's not a soloing kind of album though. There's a lot of solos, but they never go overboard with it. And there's not a lot of long drawn out battles or anything. It's very judicious on the soloing. It's about the songs, and I think Wilson sells it with the vocal melodies. You find
He's
yourself.
great. He's anything he touches is good. Yeah.
At first glance, I was like, I'm not sure about this guy's voice. When I first heard him was Headspace a few years back, and I was like, I don't know. It's kind of odd. But now after this album especially, I'm just like, man, I want to hear more. I'm not the hugest Threshold. I think he sang on some Threshold records too.
Yeah.
Never a huge fan of them, but now I'm thinking about going back and checking. But yeah, Lalu, Paint the Sky.
He's joined Arena as well.
Yeah, he's the new singer in Arena.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm wary as to how that works. I love them. I love the band, and I love him. It doesn't feel like it should do that. I hope it does.
We'll see, right?
Yeah,
Guy can't hold a job.
Yeah, he's moved around a lot.
He made a really good album with Rick Wakeman,
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Yes, he did.
and yeah, it's good. Yeah, he's a good singer.
Yeah.
He made some good albums with Wakeman's son.
That's Headspace. Yeah.
Yeah, well, but they've done like duo albums also.
Yeah.
They've done some nice stuff.
Yeah, different feel to them as well.
Yeah.
The duo albums. They're not quite so progressive, but they're very good.
You
We
still
did
not have it, Pete?
What's that?
Have you still not heard the Lalu? I
I
guarantee.
have not. No, I have not.
Did you guys hear the Lalu album I put out?
I did.
Yeah.
The
Yes.
Comic Arc?
Not quite as well. That's more heavier.
That was a prog metal album.
Yeah.
I'll have to check it out. I know I've heard good things about it. All right, my next one. This just came out a couple weeks ago. I love it. I love this band. I wish they would put out more albums, but when they do, they're quite good. Bubble Math, Turf Ascension, killer. 4 long tracks. insanely complex, but very, very melodic. They're kind of like, they're like a mix between Gentle Giant and Ekelin. Insane guitar and keyboard work. Really interesting counterpoint on the vocals and stuff, but they've got these kind of like these vocal harmonies, which are kind of like the Beatles meets Ekelin. I don't know. They're a really weird band. All their albums are like really intense, but very, very listenable. It's out on Steve Feigenbaum's Cuneiform Records, and I love it. I can't get enough of these guys. It's just a shame we have to often wait like a decade for a new album from them, but better late than never, I guess, right? So Turf Ascension, Bubble Math.
When was their last record, Pete? Because I have Such Fine Particles, I think, is the one I have, but that's
It's
all. I have.
been, it maybe hasn't been a decade. There was a longer stretch between the first and the second, but it's been got to be 6, 7, 8 years at least, something like that. Yeah, it's been a while.
Cool.
It's been a while.
All right, and Ken and Steven, you made me feel guilty because I have never heard The Tangent. So, Ken, I'll be knocking at your door, I think, fairly soon.
I'll restock that new album.
Awesome.
We can't keep it in stock.
Cool.
Sold it out twice.
That's a good sign then, right?
It is a good sign, actually.
Yes.
It's a good record. You'll like it.
Cool. So my number 3, this is an artist who I've always loved his playing. I haven't always loved his compositions. I had a few albums, CDs, but kind of stopped buying them. And this was one I did review for the site. It's Steve Vai and Violate. I don't have a prop because I think we had MP3s for that, Pete, but honestly, I think the compositions on here are fantastic. I love his playing is always great. His tone is fantastic, but I really think the writing on this record is really good. I like the songs. The songs stuck with me. They're bright and vital, if that makes sense. I mean, it feels like a fun, as you were describing in the other one, it just feels like a fun record. Like they just went in and ripped, but I think compositionally, this is the best thing I've heard from him as far back as I can go. I mean, I don't know if I think I stopped buying his stuff maybe mid 2000s. Might have been the last one, and I can't remember the last one that I bought. But it's a really good record if you like guitar playing, but I don't think, it's always been said some of his stuff is so. I don't think so with this record. I think it's very well written. So if give it a listen if it's one of those things where he's a great player, but maybe you're not sold on his writing. This one I think is levels above most of his stuff. So that's my number 3.
Yeah, I would say it's his most accessible album since Passionate Warfare. I think for me, all his albums always have dazzling playing, but sometimes the albums are hard to get into because they're just so avant-garde and so weird. This one's not like that at all. Yeah. The playing shines, but the songs are memorable.
Great.
Yeah. All right, Ken.
All right. This one might actually, of all the ones I'm going to talk about tonight, this one might be my favorite at the moment. It's an Italian quartet called Julian, Floating Islands. And I never heard of these guys. I don't know where the hell they came from. Well, they came from Italy, obviously. But, it's totally unexpected. And I think it's an awesome album. They're instrumental quartet from Italy. And it's just pure space rock from beginning to end. They inject I hear like little bits of like Mediterranean flavors on some of the tracks. It's very, very much drawn from the Ozric Tentacles school, but the great Ozric Tentacles stuff. I mean, we're talking like when the Ozrics were a band, you get those like Joey Hinton celestial keyboards that just sort of like waft into the ozone. The guitars could get a little heavy, a little crunchy, but there's nothing metallic there. The keyboards, I love the keyboards, and you listen to it and it's like the Ozrics, but it's not. And I had it upside down. I was holding it upside down. And man, I think it's wonderful. Did you listen to it yet, Pete?
No, I haven't had a chance to. I'm looking forward to it though.
It's going to kick your ass. I mean, the Ozricks don't make records this good anymore. I mean, now it's Joey Hinton, and it was Joey Hinton and his ex-wife, and I don't even know what the Ozricks really are now. Now Ed Wynn is putting out solo albums, and they sound just like Ozrick albums. So but this is like, man, this is like the good old days. You like Erpland and stuff like that. You're gonna love this album. This one really kicks ass, and yeah, that's like I said. I got a couple others here that I like very much, but I just felt like talking about that one right now. That may be my favorite so far for this half of the year. Julian, Floating Islands, Killer Space Rock.
Looking forward to hearing it.
You're gonna love it. Absolutely love it.
All right, George.
This one is Michael Romeo, War of the Worlds Part 2. The creative force behind Symphony X, and they've had to put their band on the side for a few years. Russell Allen feeling bad. His side band, a couple of guys died in a bus accident. So, Romeo, he can't sit around. He signs a deal to put out a couple solo albums, Quartet Records. Basically just like gap filler for Symphony X. They sound like Symphony X albums all the way, especially this one, because the first singer was kind of a lighter guy. This guy, Dino Jalusic, he's like the hot singer of the moment. He's channeling Russell Allen here. I mean, he totally has it down. And where that album the first album had a couple odd experiments with dubstep. Here, there's 5 instrumentals on this, all pretty short, where he's more doing the orchestral mix that Symphony X would do, like soundtracky type stuff, which frankly, I could take a whole album of that stuff. If there was no vocals on this, and it was all album of that with the Symphony X keyboard player, I'm in. But this is good too. It scratches the metal itch. Great power prog. Go with Michael Romeo.
Yeah, if you close your eyes and didn't know any better, you'd swear that was a new Symphony X album.
Yeah.
It's really hard to tell. Yeah.
Except for the keyboard solos, that's it.
True. Yeah, true. Yeah. But man, there's some killer riffs on there, and the solos or the guitar solos are just amazing. The vocals are off the charts. It's big, it's bold, it's brash. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah, I played it today. It's a great record.
Yeah. All right, Steven, what do you got?
Oh, my next one is Star One, Revel in Time. So this is, as we all know, this is one of Arjun Lucason's many projects, bands, ideas, things. I think we're a dozen years since the last one. I have found with Aerion that I get very excited when those albums come out. And then I really don't listen to them very much ever again. Not all of them, the more recent ones. Star One is probably, it's maybe the more straightforward side of things. It's the heavier side of things. But I've been drawn back to this album, double album, much more than I have the most recent Aerion albums. As you would expect with a Lucason project, same again. The cast list is just stupid good. You've got Michael Romeo, for example. You've got Tony Martin, Russell Allen, Ross Jennings, Jeff Scott Soto. I could go on and on and on. Damien Wilson, Steve Vai, loads of folk we've already mentioned. But you've also got John J.C. Kuipers, I would presume it is, the singer from Praying Mantis, because you get the whole album twice if you buy the fancy fold-out 2-disc version. That's a really pretentious idea. That's a really good idea.
It really works too,
Yeah, I was.
It's like, here's the album again with all different singers on it. Yeah, it really works well.
There's a lot of these double disc editions over recent years where you maybe get the album instrumental or remixes and various things where you think, yeah, it's nice, and I don't mind paying a couple of pounds extra to get a whole disc extra's worth of music. And then I don't really listen to it very much. I've actually listened to the second disc. I don't know which is the real album, but I've listened to the second disc more than the first one here. And I think that Kuipers, who's on a lot of it, not all of it, on the second disc, he's brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant. And his performances stand up against some of the bigger names that are on disc one. Disc one feels like it's the all-star gang, this too almost feels like
Like a
this
band.
is an album. And it's maybe that need to kind of say, well, this is really what I wanted to do, but these guys guarantee that I get more people picking it up. That's maybe a little bit unkind, because he's been doing these projects for as long as we can remember realistically. But yeah, Star One, Revel in Time, this has stuck with me longer than most of Arson's albums, and I am a fan. Don't go thinking that I'm not. I really quite like this one, so that's my next choice.
Well worth the wait, I thought.
Yeah, I thought so too. It was one of those, would he ever go back to it? Because it's been so long. He's spoken for a long time about doing it, and you kind of went, yeah, here's another Arian album, which is good enough. But yeah,
Yep.
this is what I wanted, to be honest.
Yeah, more on that later, but it's a really, to me, it was a really immediate album. I mean, I was like digging the songs first listen, pretty quick to pick it up.
It stands up going back to it as well, though. I found with the Arian ones, they are quite immediate, although there's an awful lot of theatrical stuff and narration and various things. But I've been drawn back to this one in a way that I hadn't anticipated.
Yeah, sometimes something like this, which is big and bombastic, sometimes when the scope is a little bit simpler. I don't mean to say the music is simpler on this, but it just seems to me like this is a little more direct than maybe the last couple of Arian albums. And I think, to me, it's sank in with me a little bit more than his last couple of albums with that project. And I've really taken to this one quite a bit.
I would suggest that this album is more, and I'm sounding really critical here, I like Arian, but I think this album is much more about the songs and the music. The last 2 or 3 Arian albums have been much more about the story. And here's some songs. And that's maybe why I'm not drawn back, because some of the music's great, but you kind of have to wait for it. With this album, it really is just put it on, off we go.
Yeah. And Aryan, I know you're watching because you watch this all the time. We do like, this is a really good album. I think and we love what we do, but some albums we enjoy more than others. It's the way it goes, right?
Yeah, as I say, I'm a fan of the man and his music all the way through, but this one's really clicked for me.
Yep, I agree. All right. So I guess it's my turn. I was going to turn it over to you, Eric. I'm like, so sometimes you can rate a bunch of albums really high, 4, 4.5, 5-star albums. And sometimes you may have an album that might not be a 5-star rated release, but you love it anyway. And it turns out you listen to it more than anything else. So my next pick, I think I have other albums here that are technically better, that I probably would rate a little higher, and that at the end of the year, may even overtake them. But here we're at the midway point of the year, and I don't think I've listened to any other album this year more than this one, because I love the guy so much and I love the band so much. And it's The Zealot Gene by Jethro Tull. I think I have others here that are like I said, technically better. I'd probably rate a little higher, but I've listened to this a ton this year so far. Mm-hmm. And I think, to me, it's a really good return to form for a band that we've all kind of cast, we basically gave up on, right? We're like, and that to me means a lot. And what I like about this album is that there's a lot of what I've loved about Jethro Tull in the past are included on this album. Do I wish Martin Barr was here? Sure. Do I wish maybe they had a different drummer? Maybe that too. Do I wish there was a little more keyboards or, a little more guitar in general? Yeah, but I like the songs a lot. And it's from the first listen, I like this. And I think Ian sounds fine on here. The lyrics are kind of fun. I just dig it. And I wasn't going to include it in my top 5. And then I was like, this is the one I've listened to the most this year. So that, to me, that means something. So Zealot Gene by Jethro Tull.
It's great listening to Pete rip the album apart.
Because it's not perfect, but it's like I don't care, because I have fun with it and I enjoy it. I wish some things were a little different, sure, but it hasn't like stunted my enjoyment factor. It's like the new Yes album, for example. It's like, to me, there's a lot of issues with that one too, but I don't really enjoy it that much. This, I know what its faults are, but I still love it anyway. So weird. But I know people who love the new Yes album, and they know what the faults are, but they don't care. They love it. And I guess that's me with Tull. I don't know. It's kind of weird.
I get it.
Like with that one, Pete, too. I mean, when, we did the benefit show with the box set, sometimes when you get something like those, I got benefit, I listened to that, picked that one up. You kind of get back into the catalog and you start listening to everything.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of validity in what you're saying there. I think for us Tull fans, we're on a Tull high right now because we've had, the recent box sets. You and I saw Martin live, right? And that was great. We got this came out. I interviewed him. We got another box set on the horizon. So there's a lot of like kind of Tull things going on right now. And I think it's a really fine album. Is it their best album? No. But as a Jethro Tull album in 2022, it's better than I expected by far, I think. So I enjoy it. I've listened to it a lot. So all that being said, Eric, back to you.
So my number 2, this is a digital only release. It might be a cheat. It's a live record. It's Cameron Graves, Live from the Seven Spheres. And that's a George recommendation. I actually picked up Planetary Prince at 7 because of George. This guy's unbelievable. Absolutely. I mean, this is nonstop from start to finish. The No Softies t-shirt applies on this. Incredible playing. Piano mostly too. I mean, you watch this guy go out, and that's what I would say. Like a lot of this stuff we talk about, and Pete, you always post our picks in the comments. Go out and watch these. I mean, if you have any interest in any of this music we're talking about tonight, which, I know newer music sometimes, I was like that for years where I got stuck listening to the same old stuff. I'm listening to a lot more new music now. Go out and just check these guys out. And if it's not your thing, fine, move on. But you got to see this guy and you got to see this band play. I think it's George Colin Cook, the guitar player for this one.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. Just amazing stuff. Heavy fusion, but melodic. It's not just blowing your mind with technique. I mean, there's really some incredible melodies on this as well. So again, I'm just check this guy out. Go watch a video. It's unbelievable.
I would agree.
Heavy fusion is how I would.
Graves. Yep, he's quite the player.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, Ken.
All right, my next pick is from Canada. It's the second album from Art Griffin's Sound Chaser, The 7 Ages of Starlight. And to the guy who complains that we're holding up CDs and not albums, sorry. That's what we got. So, yeah. So Art Griffin is a multi-instrumentalist. He plays bass and keyboards, and he brought back the musicians who were on the first album. You got Kerry Liuk playing guitar, Saga drummer Steve Negus, and violinist Victoria Ye. Art brought on some pretty cool guests on this one. He's got Michael Sadler from Saga. He's got Styx drummer Todd Sucherman, Frank Wyatt from Happy the Man playing a couple of Moog solos, Sarah Westbrook, who I don't know, playing keyboards, and the former Jean-Luc Ponty guitarist Jamie Glazer on guitar. And the music is a continuation of the first album. It's this high energy blend of symphonic prog rock and jazz rock fusion. See, notice how I combine jazz rock and fusion together into one thing, yeah. So I've like the first one. I thought Kerlik, that guy plays his tush off, and a lot of fast runs. But where I find that the music really ignites is when Victoria Ye comes in and solos. There's a really good connection between the guitar and violin and Art's keyboards. Then, when she's playing, it takes it a little bit more towards the fusion side. And it reminds me a bit of like those classic Jean-Luc Ponty albums, particularly this one track, which is an homage. It's called JLP. Jamie Glazer takes the first solo, and then it's like deja vu. You're like, you're listening to one of, Cosmic, was a Cosmic Messenger or something like that. It's a very cohesive unit. There's a lot of firepower, and I thought it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the first one. And by the way, Art just repressed the first one. I'm going to get it back soon. And yeah, you got it. Good. 7 Ages of Starlight. They don't make them like this anymore.
No, it's both albums are really good. I would highly like Ken said, if you're a classic Jean-Luc Ponty fan, you need to hear these.
It's a feel-good album.
Yes.
Yeah, one of our friends that likes Ponty won't listen to it.
Refuses. I can't believe it. Absolutely.
Can you believe that
Why?
guy?
I don't know. The Yellow Man.
Yeah. All right, George, what do you got?
Next one is Carlos Fisher, Busqueta Infinita. It's a Bolivian guitar player. It's a standard quartet, guitar, bass, drums, keys. Long album, high 60s of minutes. It's jazz rock fusion, we'll say. There's a good amount of acoustic work. A couple of epic over 10-minute tunes, some ostentatious soloing, but it's more about songs, I would say, for the most part, but longer songs, more developed, like a lot of 7-8 minute songs. It's the 4th album. As of right now, only a digital release, but supposedly, according to one of the viewers, he contacted Fisher, and Fisher's going to be selling some on the tour that he's going on very shortly. So hopefully some will make it out into the market. Carlos Fisher, Busqueta Infinita.
Well, I like that cover. All right, Steven.
So for my next choice, I've gone with Capricar's Constant. Okay, this album's called The Murder Wall. Now, I would hold up vinyl of these if I have a PayPal account. If anybody wants to send me donations so that I can afford to buy all of these in vinyl. So I've got a nice CD version of this. Okay. It's really good. They kind of fit into the current kind of UK prog revival that's going around. If you like Big Train, I would suggest that you're probably going to like Capricar's Constant. This is a 3rd album, and all 3 are really good. Personally, I think this is arguably the best of the 3, but it's a close run thing. There is some great artwork with it. It's a concept album, and it's an unusual concept because it is about scaling the north face of the Eiger, okay? And it's as viewed from the balcony of, and excuse the pronunciation, the Kleine Scheidig Hotel. So these are different ascents that took place between 1935 and 2007 as seen from that balcony. Let's just say some go better than others. It's a bizarre concept. I mean, why you would have that as your starting point for an album, I have no idea, but I'm bloody well pleased that they did, because it makes much more interesting listening than an awful lot of convoluted concept pieces that are out there. Musically, it's very strong. There are some kind of folk influences through there. There's some great playing on the album, but it's an atmospheric piece that really moves with what these people were watching at the time. It's based on kind of true events and various things. It's an odd little thing, but it's not really. It's a very, I hate to say the word pleasant because that makes it sound just way too tame. It's a really nice listen. It's a really involving listen, and you can really get into the story. You can really get into the music. It doesn't matter if you listen to the lyrics or not, because the music is strong enough. The vocals are fantastic on it. It's really good. They're one of these bands that just are slowly but surely getting a little bit more notice with every release that comes by. And I just think that they deserve to get a little bit more of a push behind them. So this is Capricar's Constant, and the album is called The Murder Wall.
Stephen, doesn't David Jackson play with them?
Yes, he does. Yeah. Yeah, he's quite heavily involved with them. Absolutely. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
Really
Tiger Sanction was a very bad movie with Clint Eastwood.
Pardon?
Well, you're talking about Iger, right? The Iger, it was just. I'm sorry. No, the Iger Sanction was a very bad movie with Clint Eastwood.
Okay.
So, 50 years ago. Sorry.
I will make sure to avoid that one then.
I've managed all these years, so that's fine.
I used to like Clint Eastwood. Sorry.
I'll let you play Misty again for the 80th time.
Yeah,
So,
there you go. I'm an Eastwood fan, so I just haven't seen that one, and I won't now.
I haven't either. All right, my next pick is somewhat of a reunion release. Got two founding members of this band getting back together and giving another go with two new guys, and it's amazing. Agenda 21 from 0 Hour, absolutely crushing album. Jason Tipton and Eric Rosvold with guys' names. Andreas Blomqvist and Roel Van Helden on bass and drums, respectfully. If you like the classic 0 Hour stuff, you'll like this. This is really, really technical prog metal. That's man, it's hard to describe these guys sometimes because there's really no other band like them. It's not really gent. It's not like Dream Theater prog metal style. It's not thrash. It's just, man, the music just kind of moves and shifts and churns and interweaves with each other. And Roswell's got a really, really unique vocal style. And it's like they never even took the long break they took. They just kind of pick up where they left off. And really, really great stuff here. They're on Frontiers Records now, isn't everybody on Frontiers Records? And Agenda 21, 0 Hour. Back there. Number one, or last pick, whatever.
Protocol 5 is my number one. I loved 4. That's where I started with this band. And when I heard Greg Howe wasn't coming back, majorly bummed, but Alex Sill, who steps in, does a fantastic job. And I think George mentioned this when we discussed this album before, the addition of Jacob Cessny on sax, which was not on 4. They're a great combination. I love when Sill and Cessny are back and forth or playing in unison, but I've gotten all the Protocol records, I believe, except the first one since I got introduced to these guys. But I love this right from the start. And Pete, kind of what you had said about that previous record, I have listened with Tull. I've listened to this on and off, but it's been steady play since I got it. So that is my number one so far for 2022.
The brilliant Simon Phillips.
Love it. Love it.
Eric, I'm going to tell you about another Protocol album you don't have, and George doesn't have. It's vinyl only, and it's a live session called, I think we sell it. I think it's called Live Session. It was recorded in a tiny studio in, if I remember correctly, I think it was Austria, and you could actually watch the whole session on YouTube. And it's with an invited orchestra. I'm really losing it tonight, guys. With an invited audience, very small audience, about 50 people in the studio. It's this audiophile recording, done mixed live, and it's with Greg Howe, and it is blazing, absolutely incredible. And if you give me 1 second, I'll tell you what it's called.
Well, maybe Stephen and I can set up like a GoFundMe page for these albums.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's called Studio Live Session, and it's the Protocol 4 lineup.
I mean, I've seen clips on YouTube. I'm not sure if it's the ones you're talking about.
So actually, the studio is called Little Big Beat Studio in Liechtenstein.
Okay.
Ernest Tibbs, Amara Ruiz, Simon Phillips, and Greg Howe. And it was recorded through an SSL console onto 2 Studer analog recorders. And sound is just, it's like a reference recording. And man, it's just pure fire. And when you guys make it down here at some point this summer, I'm going to play it for you. And you'll go out and buy a turntable the next day. It's hot. It's really, really good. Really good.
Wow.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks, Ken.
You can watch it. You can watch the whole session, I think, on YouTube. If you do a little.
Do that. Yeah, great, man.
Yeah.
All right, Ken.
All right. So I'm going to drop some knowledge on you guys. We're gonna get a little history lesson here. So my last one it's from Italy, from De Rossi e Bordini. Self-titled, I guess. So Carlo Bordini was the original drummer in Cherry 5. And if you guys know Cherry 5, they basically evolved into Goblin.
Yep.
Carlo Bordini formed Rusticelli Bordini with Paolo Rusticelli, who was the son of the Italian film soundtrack composer Carlo Rusticelli. And those guys, Rusticelli Bordini, they made one great album called Opera Prima. I don't know what happened to Carlo Bordini, but what he was doing all the years. But at some point, there was a reformation of Cherry Red, and Gianluca De Rossi was the keyboard player in Tapper Band, which is a very, very good Italian band, and he hooked up with Bordini for a concept album, a collaboration for the Finnish Colossus magazine, which is a prog magazine, and Musea Records. So basically, De Rossi became the keyboard player in this new version of Cherry 5. I call it Cherry Red. Jesus, it's gonna be a hell of a night. I could tell already. So the album is 2 19-minute songs, which are mostly instrumental. The opener was called Il Paso del Giganti. It has a little bit of narration at the head of the tune, and then the second track, La Porta nel Buo, has some vocals towards the end, and then the album is rounded out with 2 live recordings of tracks that were originally done by Rusticelli Bordini. They're basically cover pieces, and it's just the kind of stuff that I love. It's bombastic keyboards, killer drumming. De Rossi's playing Hammond organ, Mini Moog, Mellotron, Fender Rhodes, clavinet, Elka string ensemble, Moog Taurus pedals, and Bordini, man, I don't know how old the guy is, but this is not a guy who's got a case of the olds, because he plays his ass off, and it's along the lines of Rusticelli Bordini. It's kind of cut from that cloth. It's that old school Italian prog sound. I guess some people call it rock progressivo Italiano. And yeah, it's killer stuff. De Rossi e Bordini.
Maybe Sal will order that from you. He likes a lot of that pasta Prague.
I was just going to say, maybe don't call it pasta Prague, though, right, George?
Yeah, no. It's good stuff. And actually, the two bonus tracks are.
You stock that? You have that in stock right now?
Yeah, I have some copies in stock. I sold out of it, got it back, and
That sounds pretty interesting.
it's good. If you like Bonko and all that stuff, it's good stuff. My apologies for calling Cherry 5 Cherry Red. I don't know where that came from.
We all have our days, Ken.
Yeah, I'm having it.
We'll fix it all in post-production, Ken. It's fine.
Thank you, please. Yeah, you'll punch it up.
Yeah, we'll make you look good. Don't worry.
Thank you.
All right, George, your final pick of the day.
Mine is Arc Trio and John Diversa Big Band. The album's called Archaeology, the music of MSM Schmidt. It's a lot of words. It's Arc Trio. It's their second record. It's Scott Kinsey, Jimmy Haslip, and Gurgle Borlai. The first record kind of didn't grab me. Kinsey's like a Zawinul follower. It was very Zawinul-y for me. This record is totally different. They hook up with the big band, and they're doing the music of LA-based composer, MSM Schmidt. He's a keyboardist composer, and Jimmy Haslip is the coordinator for all of his solo albums, which are like pretty similar to like Eye of the Beholder era electric band. Very high quality, good production, good players. So 6 of the 8 songs are old MSM Schmidt songs. One song he wrote specially for this, and then there's one tune from Kinsey that he's got his girlfriend on doing some wordless vocals. It's actually pretty cool. But in addition to all those players, he hired a bunch of soloists. 6 of the 8 tracks have guitar players: Mike Miller, Oz Noy, Steve Kahn. And then Brian Auger plays B3 on a song. Steve Tabaglione plays sax solo on a song. So there's soloing firepower as well. Just this is one of those ones that just got the replay value for me. I keep playing this. I don't know if it's because I know the 6 songs. I have the Schmidt album, so I know the 6 songs, but I don't think it is because really it's very different because of the big band and the different arrangements and stuff. They're definitely different arrangements. Some of the songs are minutes longer or shorter, so they really did a bunch of stuff with the big band. Can't recommend it enough. Borlai doesn't solo on this album, but he drives it. I mean, the drums are, it's relentless. It's an assault, basically. And can't say enough about it. Archaeology.
Sounds pretty great. Cool. All right, Stephen.
Well, if anyone is playing the Stevens on In the Prog Seat drinking game, they'll be pleased with my last choice. Because it's the new Marillion album. I couldn't go through the whole show without saying that word, obviously. So this is an hour before it's dark. Yes, I do have the fancy all singing, all dancing.
See that.
No, I did actually, but it's over there. I'm not going to change people's minds about Marillion, but they do appear to be slowly but surely doing that on their own. For some people, they are now an enigma that they're just not going to crack. And I get that. And I'm okay with that. However, I think they're massively misunderstood in recent years. I still read a lot of comment about them going, oh, Rothery's wasted in that band and various things. I mean, you're not listening. He's bloody well here. And he's on this album a lot. He plays a lot on this album. There's long pieces on here, long instrumental pieces. And I just think that they're a really smart band. I just think that they're clever in the way they construct their songs. I think that they write engaging music. I think that they are brave enough to still have a singer who writes honest, heartfelt, political lyrics at times. And I know that a lot of people will say, oh, keep politics out of music. Well, go back to the 60s and tell me it wasn't important then. It's just as important now. And there are things said on this album that right now need to be heard, in my humble opinion. However, this is not a political vehicle. It's a great album that just has an honest heart. But it's also got great songs. That's the point. Care, Sierra Leone, Murder Machines, Be Hard on Yourself. This is top drawer stuff. And it is really, it sounds fantastic. Marillion always sound fantastic. You can tell this is a band that care about what they do. So yeah, it's an hour before it's dark, and it's Marillion. Thus endeth the lesson. I don't love everything this band has done. I'm not completely blind to it. I understand that they've made at least 2, maybe 3 utter clunkers in their time. This is not one of them. This is a really important, clever album from a band that you really should be checking out. So it's Marillion, an hour before it's dark.
It won me back.
Yeah,
I kind of cast them off, I don't know, 8-10 years ago, and I'm back on the train again.
It's good to hear. I am hearing that from people who just got lost along the way, and I did too at certain points, I have to say. There are albums I had to go back and buy because I didn't get them at the time, and I still don't particularly like them now, and I have ripped a couple of them on the show because some of them suck. That's the truth of it. But I think that the last couple, but this one especially, are maybe not quite as good as they've got with Hogarth, but it's not far away. It's really not far away.
I would agree.
Yeah.
All right. My number one, again, another one, I look at replay value and like which ones I've been listening to the most this year. And maybe because I just love the band that this guy comes from so much. And like I mentioned before, because George has already talked about this, to me, you close your eyes, this sounds like a Symphony X album, and it's Michael Romeo, War of the Worlds Part 2. I just can't stop listening to this. It's so heavy. It's so cinematic. Dino's vocals are great. He's going to be the it singer, of the next 5 years or more. You could just tell that they're grooming him for that because he's popping up all over the place. As much as I really like Ronnie Romero, I think Dino is probably a better singer, and I think he's going to go a little farther. But Mr. Romeo is a genius, and I love his songwriting. I love his arranging. He's always busy, and everything he touches turns to quality. I don't think Michael Romeo has ever been attached to something that hasn't been less than stellar, maybe save for that very, very first Symphony X album, which, you know, this isn't all that great, but everything after that has been just absolutely amazing. There's heavy stuff on here. There's real proggy stuff on here. There's neoclassical on here. As George mentioned, there's like this big film score stuff that's just absolutely captivating. It's orchestral. It's a great, great listen. Honestly, I've listened to the second disc, which is all the instrumental versions of these songs, like once. And I agree with you, George. It's like, you know, he could do instrumental albums all the time and it would probably be amazing. But when he's got vocalists on there with these great vocal melodies that he writes, it does it for me. So yeah, right now, as of today, this is probably my favorite prog-ish themed or styled album of the year, prog metal, whatever you want to call it. And I just totally love it. Totally love it. And it is, as much as I like the first part, I enjoy this one quite a bit more, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, honorable mention time. Eric, you want to lay a couple on us?
Yeah, I'll back Steven with the Marillion. I really did enjoy this a lot. I got back into them with Fear. And seeing them live on that tour really kind of reignited it, but I did like that album. But I think this is, like Steven said, this is an excellent album, and Mr. Rothery does have a presence here, so enjoy that one. This might have been as much from seeing them live as well, but Stickman Tentacles. It's not something I'm going to put on every day, but I do enjoy it. And when you get to see those guys live, that kind of, you're picturing that in your head and you go back and listen to that. I think that's a really good one. This is one, I don't know if anyone has even heard of these guys. Giant Hedgehog.
Well, that's good, yeah.
I'm Sealed. I mean, it's crimsonish in a way, very atmospheric at times. But I really enjoyed that. And that was one, I think I pulled that out of the box, Pete, and I'm like, who is this? It's not a great album cover either, but really good music. Oh, I'm sorry. It's hard to see, Steven. It's a very strange album cover.
Yeah, that doesn't sell it, does it?
Giant, no, it does not sell it at all. Giant Hedgehog. And one that's not prog, but I have to mention because it really hit me and I've gone back to it a few times, is the DiVirgilio Morrison Jennings Troika. Acoustic based. I think their voices blend very well together. You get kind of a Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young feel from it. Pretty far from progressive, but I think the songs are extremely catchy and the voices sound great together. So those are my others from 2022 so far.
Anybody heard the new album from the guitarist from Haken yet? Charlie's album.
Couple tunes, that's it.
How is that? I haven't heard it yet. I've heard it's great.
It's in the honorable mentions pile because it falls under the too early to tell. I've
Okay.
only had it for 2 days. I've given it one listen, and there's a lot to take in. It appears to be a lot of fun though.
Yeah, I've heard stylistically it's all over the place.
Yeah, the videos that he put out was pretty fun.
Yeah, it's technical, it's diverse. I put it on, and there's way too much to take in one sitting. So it's sitting in I've got 3 here that I just don't know enough about yet to talk about. That's one of them. I've got a funny feeling I'm going to love it, but I don't know yet.
I gotta get that. All right, Ken, you got any honorables?
One, but it's a little bit of nepotism. So we just put this out, Philosophophobia, on Sensory prog metal band. It's kind of like a multi-instrumental, multi-international band. I'm doing it again. And it's got Dominic, the singer from Wastefall. Christopher Gildenlow's playing bass on it. Pete, I know you described it as kind of atmospheric metal, but it's very melodic, progressive. To me, what I kind of consider like the type of prog metal that I've been releasing all these years that I like. Very, melodic, not, well, I like overly technical too, because I released all those 0 Hour albums and Spiral Architect, but these guys don't lose sight of the melody. And I think it's a very good release, and we're getting great reviews on it. I did want to mention 2 albums which are imminent, which are certainly going to make top 10 lists at the end of the year. One is by a band called Green Asphalt, which is a terrible name for a band. A terrible name. by a guy, Dan Bornemark, who I believe, I don't have all the history behind, but I believe Dan was heavily involved in the Gentle Giant fan community. And Green Asphalt is basically like an homage to Gentle Giant. And he put it out on vinyl first, and he's working on the CD version, which I think is coming in August. And I know everybody's excited about it. I think it's up on Bandcamp and you could hear it now. And the album, which I've had the advantage of hearing, I know Pete's heard it, and for me already, it's going to be my album of the year, is the first album from Birth called Born. And it's basically the band that's rising from the remnants of Astra, two of the members of Astra from San Diego. And it's just a throwback to vintage prog rock. And I think it's brilliant. So, it doesn't break new ground. They're not trying to break new ground.
No.
They're trying to break old ground and do it, and do it in an enjoyable way. And I think it's a fantastic album.
Yeah, I kind of get, I know it's kind of a weird way. It's kind of like an American version of Wobbler, and Wobbler does exactly what you just said. So
it's an homage to the prog rock that we grew up with and we all love.
Yeah.
And they do it really well.
Yeah.
And that is out July 15th. And I got a lot of copies on order. So if anybody's looking for it, we'll have it.
Sounds good. Cool. George.
I would say the Marvin was a just missed the list for me. I'm getting a lot out of it, like you guys said. The Phillips I also like, and the New Animals as Leaders, Parrhesia. For me, it's their best one because it's shorter. A lot of times their style is so focused and so direct that you don't need 55 minutes of that. This one's like 37 minutes. I think it's just right, and the writing's better than it usually is. So I have that in there too. That's about it.
Cool. Stephen.
Okay, well, as I said, I had three that I haven't spent enough time with. One was Charlie Griffith's Tiktalika or Tiktalica. Not sure. It's a stupid name.
It's a great cover.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
It's like Roger Dean, but it's not.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's really nice to put together, I have to say. Really good.
Nice.
Yeah, that's nice.
Very nice package indeed. So there's that. Now, we can't get through the whole show without mentioning it. Okay. We just can't. Okay. We just can't. Not going to steal anyone's thunder, but we will be talking about this at length in the near future, everybody, okay? Because I know that the comments are going to be ablaze with the fact that we're not talking about this today. I'm not talking about this today.
We should be talking about it this week, they're going to say. We need it now. We need it now.
I've had it for 2.5 days, 3.5 days. Well, I don't know. At this time, maybe even longer than that. I don't know.
I've not listened mine for like, what, 2 hours? So it's
people are telling me that it's album of the year and various things. And I'm like, well, I need more than 3 or 4 listens to tell you what is album of the year. So I'm excited. I like what I've heard. It seems to be what I wanted. Is it their best album yet? I don't know. Well, okay, let's wait and see.
Yeah.
From the other one was Seventh Wonder, by the way. That's one I've not spent enough time with to know it yet. Pure Reason Revolution, band that I really like. Above Cirrus, they're just on a roll. That's really, really good. I'll echo exactly what Peter said with The Zealot Gene by Jethro Tull. It's not their best album. It's certainly not their worst album. We have also berated this album art, okay, because it's all this. Do you know one of the things that struck me all the way through is whenever Ken is on the show and I'm also on the show, I'm really sorry, Ken. I always stare lovingly into your eyes, but I do try and work out what the albums are that are on the floor behind you. And
you want to see?
Time that I've been on the same show as you, the only one I've ever managed to pick out was this one. So it did some sort of job all of those weeks and months ago. But yeah, it's exactly what Peter said. There are aspects on this you think, I'd like more of this, I'd like more of that. I've had great fun with this and I've played it a lot. So it's obviously got, in my humble opinion, got something going for it. I also wanted to mention the new James Labrie album, which isn't particularly progressive. It's very acoustic based. I think that it does his voice a massive amount of favours in the way that it's put together. Paul Logue from Eden's Curse was a strong hand in the songwriting. It's really, really good. It's an interesting departure, and I like hearing people do solo albums that don't just do what you expect. And my last one's a bit of a cheat. It's Marius Duda with his Lockdown trilogy. These technically are not released this year because these have come through during lockdown. But as the 3 albums put together with a bonus EP, this is a 2022 release. Not all 3 albums are phenomenal, but I do think that the final one, which is called Drawings, is really pretty special. So you can get them standalone, you can get them download, you can get them cassette if that's your thing. That seems to be a thing these days. So there's some really interesting stuff here. It's a departure from what you might expect. And same again, if you're going to do solo stuff, why would you not? So that's my honorable mentions.
Aren't we to expect a new Riverside later this year? Yeah.
End of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there's still some big stuff to come.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah, there is.
There's going to be a new Devin Townsend coming.
Yeah, yeah, there's some good stuff coming. All right, my honorables. Star One, Revel in Time. I like this a lot. I've listened to this quite a bit. Ariane was kind enough to get me a copy before it even came out, so I've had this a little bit longer than most people. And like I said before, I enjoy the hell out of it. I like it's direct, it's catchy. I like both versions really, really well. And it's very unusual that I will listen to both versions of an album like that almost equally, but really good. This is one that I have been listening to a ton the last just couple of weeks because it only just came out. Seventh Wonder, The Testament, terrific. I mean, memorable songs, killer playing. It's about 50 minutes long, so it's not overly long. Yeah, really great. Marillion, which we mentioned. The new Big Train, Welcome to the Planet. I like this a lot. I like all of their albums, and you know, this is kind of a sad one because it's the last album with Dave on vocals, and yeah, quite good.
They just announced there's going to be another live one coming out, another 2 CD Blu-ray coming out. I think
Okay. Have they figured out what they're doing going forward yet? I mean,
they have a new singer. He's Italian, no less.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah, I did see that. That's right. Yeah.
I don't never heard of him.
Yeah, that's right. And then last, we'll go with the Simon Phillips Protocol. Wonderful, really good. You know, and there's others, but you know, I figured we want to keep it kind of manageable for today. But stay tuned at the end of the year where we do this once again, and we'll see if any of these finished out the year, remained at the top, or whether stuff like Birth or Riverside or whatnot kind of moved in and kind of swept others away. But you know, you never know. You never know. So
Pete,
thanks for watching, everybody.
Before we go, can I make a public service announcement?
Yes, you can. Yes.
So some of my customers, and just in general, if you're not a customer of mine, you'll understand what I'm talking about. There's been a delay in Porcupine Tree. We were talking about the new album, and there is a deluxe edition of the CD, the 2 CD Blu-ray edition, and you may have ordered it from me or Amazon. Or Stephen, is that version, or is that the vinyl version?
No, this is the deluxe 2 CD Blu-ray.
Yeah, it's not available in the US yet, so there is a supply chain issue. So nobody has received it. So if you've ordered it, eventually you're going to see it, and the distributors are well aware of it, and some customers are not. And I'm getting phone calls and emails, and I'm sure whoever you bought it from, you're probably furious you don't have it, but it should be available relatively soon. The standard CD, I understand the label did not ship enough into the US, so those sold out, so you can't find the CD at the moment. But again, everybody's aware of it, and they're working on it. So we're trying to do what we can to fill our orders, and we will as soon as possible. And again, whether you bought it from us or Amazon or some other retailer, leave those people alone. They're just doing their job, and they're going to ship it to you as soon as they've got it. And you know, so anyway, just wanted to say that. So
Cool.
don't call me anymore. Stop calling.
Leave me alone, damn
Leave
it.
me alone. Leave me alone.
As a further small aside, as we do here in the UK, don't know if you do in the US, we do a midweek chart, which gives you a rough idea of where things are headed. Currently, #1 in the UK midweek chart. Now, that means nothing if it's not there at the weekend, because you get nothing for a midweek chart position. But if you want to see prog at #1 in the UK, buy the album this week, please, people.
Porcupine Tree at #1.
Would be nice.
Yeah.
Would be the first as well.
Hey, first is good.
All right, there's our mid-year report 2022, our favorite releases so far. Tune in sometime late December where we'll do this all over again and wrap up the entire year. So thanks for watching, everybody. If you are a buyer of new stuff, down in the comments below, put your top 5 or 10 that you've heard so far this year, and let us know what you think of those. So visit us on the web at www.seaoftranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, all together, all the damn time. You can probably get a lot of this stuff at lasercd.com. That's Ken's website, so go check it out and get yourself some cool new prog and prog metal infusion. And for Stephen Reed, George Lemie, Ken Golden, Eric Porter, I am P. Pardo. We'll see you next week on In the Prog Seat. And don't forget, next Wednesday, the review of the new Porcupine Tree album. Till then, take care. Bye-bye.